After 15 years together, my wife discovered her true love. He's authentic and money doesn't matter to him, she said. I just smiled. Okay, grab a seat and maybe a drink, because this isn't just a story about a broken marriage. This is about what happens when you realize the person you vowed to spend your life with sees you as nothing more than a glorified ATM, and the sheer audacity it takes for them to expect you to keep paying the bills after they've found their soulmate. What would you do if your entire world was built on a lie? My name's Nolan. I'm 41, and for 15 years, Camille and I had what I thought was a good thing. Not perfect, because nothing ever is, but good. The kind of marriage where you actually looked forward to coming home after a grueling day, where Sunday mornings meant lazy breakfasts and debating over some god-awful reality show. I'm a lineman for Duke Energy in Charlotte. Been at it for 17 years, ever since trade school. It's a hard job. Dangerous, even. One wrong move and you're not fixing lightning, you're writing it. But it pays well. Real well. And that money, that hard-earned money, gave Camille everything she wanted without ever having to lift a finger. We met when I was 24, she was 22. She laughed at my terrible jokes. I liked how authentic she seemed. We got married 2 years later, a small ceremony at her parents' place. Her mom cried happy tears. Her dad shook my hand, told me to take care of his little girl. I promised I would. And for 15 years, I kept that promise. Without complaint. Our house? It was mine before we ever said I do. Bought it at 26, paid it off early. I hate owing anyone anything. Then, 6 years ago, Camille's mother got sick. Early onset dementia, moving faster than anyone expected. I didn't hesitate. Got her into Pinehurst Senior Care, one of the nicest memory care facilities in Charlotte. It was $4,500 a month, barely covered by her insurance. I set up the automatic payments from my account, never mentioned it again. That's what family does, right? You don't keep score. Camille didn't work. Hadn't since year 3 of our marriage, when her entry-level admin job at a real estate office started, draining her creative spirit. She said sitting in a cubicle was killing her soul. So I supported her. I thought marriage meant supporting each other. I figured she'd find something that made her happy eventually. Instead, she found hobbies. Lots of them. Yoga certifications she never used. Photography courses she abandoned. A brief, intense obsession with artisan candles that nearly burned down our garage. I funded it all, never questioning, because that's what a supportive husband does. About 8 months ago, things started to shift. Just small, unnameable changes. She was distracted, distant. Started going out with friends I'd never heard of. Spent hours on her phone, a secretive little smile playing on her lips, vanishing the second I walked in the room. I asked once if everything was okay. She called me paranoid, controlling. So I stopped asking. I started watching. The night everything exploded, we were having dinner. Tuesday evening. I just worked a 12-hour shift, restoring power after a nasty thunderstorm. I was exhausted, starving, just wanted a quiet night with my wife. She had other plans. She waited until I was halfway through my meal before dropping the bomb. Casual as anything, like she was mentioning a dentist appointment. I met someone, she said, not even looking up from her plate. His name is Thatcher. He's a creative consultant. And honestly, Nolan, he gets me in ways you never have. Not once in 15 years. I set my fork down. Slowly. Let that sentence hang in the air. A creative consultant named Thatcher. I didn't even know what that was, but I already hated this guy with a passion I usually reserved for the Dallas Cowboys. She kept talking like she'd rehearsed it. How they'd connected at some gallery event 3 weeks ago. How he saw her authentic self. How he lived simply in a studio apartment because material possessions didn't define his worth. He was genuine. Not obsessed with money or status like other men. He understood her need for emotional depth and spiritual connection. 3 weeks. She'd known this guy for 21 days and was already talking about him like he hung the moon. And before you overreact, she continued, finally meeting my eyes, a calm expression that made me want to flip the table. Nothing physical has happened. This is deeper than that. It's a spiritual connection. He sees my soul, Nolan. When's the last time you actually saw my soul? I almost laughed. Instead of flipping the table, instead of screaming, I just looked at her. Really looked at this woman I'd supported for 15 years without asking for a single thing in return. Sitting in my house, at my table, eating food I'd paid for, wearing jewelry from anniversaries I'd funded, telling me she'd found her soulmate. Does he know about your mother's situation? I asked. Her expression flickered. Annoyance. What does that have to do with anything? Just wondering if this, genuine, non-materialistic, Thatcher knows that I pay $4,500 a month to keep your mom in a facility where she actually gets proper care, instead of being warehoused in some state-run place that smells like sadness. You're trying to make this about money. It's not about money. It's about connection. It's always about money, Camille. You just never had to think about it because I handled everything while you were off finding yourself. She crossed her arms, getting that victim look she always got. I knew you wouldn't get it. You're too practical, too focused on bills and obligations and stuff like that. Thatcher says that kind of thinking is what keeps people trapped in unfulfilling lives. Thatcher sounds like a guy who's never paid a mortgage. He's evolved beyond that materialistic mindset. Right. Evolved. I pushed back from the table. I need to make a phone call. We're in the middle of a conversation, Nolan. No, we're not. You're in the middle of a monologue about your soulmate. I'll be back. I walked into my home office, closed the door. Took a second to just breathe. Then I called my attorney, Weston. He'd handled my property documents a few years back. Practical guy. Billed by the minute, made every minute count. He answered on the second ring, even after 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I gave him 3 instructions. First thing tomorrow morning, close all joint credit lines. Cancel the automatic payments to Pinehurst Senior Care for Camille's mother. And start the paperwork to confirm the house as separate property with no marital claim. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, what happened? She found her soulmate, I said. Some guy named Thatcher who doesn't care about money or material things. Thatcher. He chuckled. That's his actual name? Creative consultant, apparently. What does that even mean? No clue. But apparently, he sees her soul in ways I never could. Weston made a sound that was definitely a laugh. I'll have everything moving by 9 a.m. You sure about the medical payments? That's going to create problems fast. I'm sure. All right then. I'll call you with updates tomorrow. When I came back to the kitchen, Camille was loading the dishwasher with this peaceful look on her face, like she'd just completed some difficult spiritual task by telling her husband of 15 years she'd found someone better. I'm glad we talked, she said, without turning around. I was worried you'd make this difficult, but I knew you'd get it eventually. We both deserve to be truly happy, right? You're right, I said, keeping my voice even. We do. She turned and smiled at me. Actually smiled. I smiled back. Because in about 14 hours, her credit cards were going to stop working. The facility caring for her mother was going to call about a missed payment. And her genuine, non-materialistic soulmate was going to get a front-row seat to what happens when the safety net disappears. She had no idea what was coming. Wednesday went exactly how I expected. I went to work at 6 a.m., came home like nothing had changed. Meanwhile, Camille floated around the house, texting nonstop, giggling at her phone like a teenager with her first crush, taking calls in the bathroom with the fan running for noise cover. She left around 6 p.m., wearing a new outfit, to have dinner with friends. I didn't ask which ones. Didn't need to. The call from Pinehurst Senior Care came at 7:15. A very professional woman explained the automatic payment for Mrs. Harlow's care had been declined. Balance, $4,500. Could I provide updated payment info? I told her I was no longer responsible for that account. She'd need to contact the patient's daughter, Camille Beckett. I gave her Camille's cell number, wished her a nice evening. Then I made myself a sandwich and waited. My phone started lighting up around 8. Missed calls, texts, more missed calls. I let them pile up while I ate, did the dishes, and settled into the living room with a book I'd been meaning to read for 6 months. Eventually, I called her back. What did you do? Her voice was shrill. I could hear restaurant noise in the background. Could you be more specific? I did a lot of things today. My card got declined in front of everyone at the table. Then the nursing facility called saying you stopped payments for mom. What is wrong with you? I reorganized my finances. Made some changes. You can't just do that without talking to me first. I can, actually. It's my money. All of it. As it turns out. Silence on her end. Then, quieter, the panic giving way to something else. Nolan, this isn't funny. Mom needs that facility. They're talking about transferring her somewhere else if we can't pay. A state place. Then you should probably figure out a payment solution. I don't have $4,500. I don't have any dollars. I haven't worked in 12 years, Nolan, you know that. That's unfortunate. Sounds like something you should have thought about before the whole soulmate announcement. More silence. I could almost hear her brain working, realizing that maybe announcing her soulmate before securing her exit strategy wasn't the smartest move. Is this because of Thatcher? Are you punishing me? This is because yesterday you told me our marriage was basically over, and then expected me to keep funding your life anyway, like nothing had changed except your feelings. That's not how this works. We can talk about this when I get home. Figure it out together. Sure. Drive safe. She hung up. I went back to my book. She came home 2 hours later, looking like she'd been crying. Thatcher had to pay for dinner, she said flatly, dropping her purse on the counter. How'd that go? I asked. Don't. I'm asking for Real. Did he look happy about it? Excited to help out his soulmate in her time of need. She ignored that. You need to fix this now. Turn the cards back on. Call the facility and put the payments back. This isn't just about me shopping. It's about my mother's health and safety. Your mother is your responsibility. Not mine. Never was, technically. We're married. We share responsibilities. Are we? Because yesterday, you were pretty clear that you'd found something better. Soul connections and authentic living and spiritual depth. So, go live authentically, Camille. Just do it on your own dime. Her face went red. You're being vindictive. I'm being clear. There's a difference. She tried a different approach then, softening her voice, stepping closer, making her eyes bigger. The works. Nolan, I know you're hurt right now. I get it. But we can work through this if we communicate better. Maybe if you'd been more emotionally available over the years, I wouldn't have needed to look somewhere else. I let that sit for a second. Let her think she'd landed a devastating point. So, this is my fault. The soulmate thing. I'm not saying that exactly. I'm saying we both got us to where we are now, right? I contributed a house, a lifestyle, 15 years of financial security, and your mother's medical care. You contributed finding a soulmate named Thatcher. Very balanced. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head, like she couldn't wrap her mind around why I wasn't folding, apologizing, begging her to stay and give me another chance to be the husband she needed. You've changed, she said finally. You're cold now. Distant. This isn't the man I married. No, Camille. I just stopped pretending not to notice things. That's all that's changed. I'm the same guy I always was. You just never paid enough attention to notice. I went to bed. She stayed up most of the night, making phone calls. I could hear her pacing, her voice getting more desperate as the hours passed. By morning, she looked like she hadn't slept at all. Good. Neither had Pinehurst's billing department, probably. The next few days were interesting to watch. Camille went into full damage control mode. Called her sister in Raleigh for emergency funds. Called old friends she hadn't talked to in years. Tried to open her own bank account, only to discover her credit score, which she'd never thought about once because I handled all the finances, was somewhere in the low 400s. Turns out, maxing out a secret credit card on cash advances and paying only minimums for 18 months will tank your score. Meanwhile, I went to work, came home, existed in the same space as her without engaging in her drama. It drove her nuts. She kept trying to start fights, probably hoping I'd say something she could use against me. I didn't give her anything. Thursday evening, my buddy Ree came over. We'd worked together at Duke Energy for 12 years. Good guy, funny as anything. So, let me get this straight, he said, settling onto my couch with a slice of pepperoni. She met this dude 3 weeks ago, and now he's her soulmate, and she thought you'd just be cool with it? That's the gist. And his name is Thatcher. Like the British Prime Minister. Creative consultant. Ree nearly choked on his pizza. What does that even mean? Does he consult on creativity? Does he creatively consult? Is he just unemployed with a business card? I need answers here, Nolan. This is keeping me up at night. I didn't ask for details on his career. He shook his head, looking amused. Brother, I've seen some wild stuff in 17 years at this company, but I have never seen audacity on this level. She really thought you'd just keep writing checks while she explored her spiritual connection. That was the plan, apparently. The front door opened. Camille walked in, saw Ree on the couch, and froze. Oh, didn't know you had company. Ree stopped by. We're catching up. She looked between us. Ree just waved with his pizza slice. Casual as anything. Hey, Cammy. How's the soulmate search going? Finding authentic connections. Her face went red. She grabbed her purse from the counter and left without a word, slamming the door. Ree watched her go, then turned back to me. That's going well. She's not thrilled with me. Reese raised his pizza slice like a toast. Nolan Beckett. Cold as ice when it counts. Friday evening, I came home to find Camille sitting at the kitchen table with a look I recognized. The look of someone who'd just gotten bad news and didn't know what to do with it. I talked to Thatcher today, she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. Long conversation. How'd that go? He thinks we moved too fast. That I should focus on my family situation right now. Get things stable. Then we can see where we're at. I leaned against the counter, crossed my arms. Let me guess. Once your whole family situation got complicated and expensive, he suddenly got real busy with other things. He's being supportive from a distance, giving me the space I need to handle things on my own. Is that what he called it? Supporting from a distance? That's a real fancy way to say he's bailing on you now that things got hard. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. We both knew what happened. Thatcher signed up for a married woman with resources and stability. Not a separated woman with a tanking credit score and a mother in a care facility she couldn't afford. The math changed, and he did new math. Turns out, genuine non-materialistic soulmates have their limits. So, what now? I asked. I don't know. Well, you have options. You could get a job. Start supporting yourself for the first time. Figure out how to cover your mother's care on your own. Or, you could keep waiting for Thatcher to come back once things stabilize. I'm sure he'll be back any day now. She stood up fast, knocking her chair back. You don't have to be a jerk about it. I'm not being a jerk. I'm being honest. Something I should have done years ago instead of just handling everything quietly. She went upstairs without another word. I heard the bedroom door slam. I made myself dinner, ate in comfortable silence, and thought about how fast everything falls apart when you stop holding it together for people who don't appreciate it. Monday morning, bright and early, I filed for divorce. Weston had all the papers ready. I signed them in his office before my shift, then went about my day like nothing had changed. Because for me, the decision was already made. Everything else was just paperwork. Camille found out around noon when a process server showed up at the house. I know this because she called me 10 times during my lunch break. I didn't answer. Had a job site to get back to. And honestly, what was left to talk about? That evening, I came home to find her waiting in the living room with a folder full of printouts, legal articles, property law summaries, community property state stuff. She'd been busy. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, she announced, like she'd found some devastating secret weapon. I know. That means I'm entitled to a fair share of everything we built together. Feel free to make that argument to a judge. My attorney says it gets complicated when one spouse hasn't worked in 12 years and was actively pursuing someone outside the marriage. It wasn't outside the marriage. Nothing physical happened. Emotional affairs count too, Camille. Especially when there's a documented timeline, gallery event, 3 weeks of constant texts, the soulmate announcement. It's all pretty clear. Her confidence flickered. You've been planning this. Setting me up. No, I've been documenting. There's a difference. Big difference, actually. You're the one who planned things. You just planned them badly. Really badly. She tried a different approach. Tears this time. The kind that used to work on me years ago. Nolan, please. I made a terrible mistake. I got confused. But we can fix this if we try. We can do counseling. Work through it. You don't want to fix anything. You want me to start paying bills again while you figure out your next move. That's not the same thing. That's not true. I love you. Your soulmate disappeared the second money got tight. Your first instinct was to threaten me with lawyers. You haven't apologized once. Not really. You've just been trying different strategies to get what you want. So no, we're not fixing anything. We're done. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something shifted in her face. Fine, she said, her voice completely different. You want to play it this way? We'll play it this way. I'll take you for everything. The house, your retirement, everything you've got. I'll make you regret ever treating me like this. Good luck with that. You're going to need it. She grabbed her keys and left. I heard her car peel out of the driveway. I called Reese right away. She's going scorched earth. Figured she would. What's she gotta work with? Nothing real. She hasn't worked in 12 years. She's got no case. So, she's bluffing, trying to scare you into settling, probably. But I want to be ready for whatever she throws. Smart. Hey, you talked to my cousin Kendall yet? The forensic accountant. Not yet. You should. Kendall's scary. Good at finding hidden stuff. If Camille's been hiding anything, Kendall will find it. I called Kendall that night. She was exactly as advertised. Sharp, direct, no wasted words. I gave her access to every financial record I had, and she promised a full report within a week. 4 days later, she called back. Your wife has a credit card you didn't know about, Kendall said. No preamble. Opened 18 months ago. Different bank. Mailing address set to a P.O. box across town. I sat down. How much? Current balance is just under $11,000. Cash advances mostly. Plus some charges at hotels around Charlotte. Nice restaurants. A jewelry store purchase that definitely wasn't for you, based on what she bought. She's had this card for 18 months. The affair started way before 3 weeks ago. Nolan, Thatcher might be the new guy, but the pattern isn't new at all. She's been running this play for a while now. I let that sink in. 18 months. While I was working overtime, paying for her mother's care, funding her hobbies, she'd been building a secret escape fund, using a hidden credit card for whatever she'd been doing on the side. Can you document everything? Already done. Sending you a full report with dates, amounts, locations. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat in my quiet house and thought about the last 18 months of my marriage. It all made sense now. Thatcher wasn't the start of anything. He was just the latest. Camille hired herself an attorney. Some aggressive guy from South Charlotte with a flashy office and an expensive watch who sent a demand letter within a week. She wanted the house, half my retirement, ongoing spousal support, and continued payments for her mother's care. The letter was 6 pages of righteous anger about how I'd financially abused her by cutting off support, how I'd cruelly abandoned her elderly mother as punishment, how I'd used money to control her throughout our marriage. Weston read the whole thing and laughed out loud. She really doesn't know what you have on her, does she? Doesn't know about the credit card thing? Apparently not. Her attorney doesn't either, or he'd never have sent this letter. Either way, this mediation's going to be interesting. Actually, kind of looking forward to it. Mediation was scheduled for 3 weeks out. Camille moved in with her sister in Raleigh temporarily, which was fine by me. The house was quiet for the first time in months. I slept 8 hours every night, started running again in the mornings. Reese came over the night before mediation with Chinese takeout and what he called moral support. You nervous? He asked, cracking open a container of lo mein. Not really. You've got the smoking gun. 18 months of charges. She's toast. I know. So why do you look like you're thinking too hard? I set down my chopsticks. 15 years, man. 15 years of my life. I thought I knew her inside and out. Turns out I didn't know anything about who she actually was underneath it all. Reese was quiet for a second. Then he shrugged. Some people are just good at hiding who they really are. Really good. Doesn't mean you were stupid or blind. Just means she was talented at lying. Some people are. That's supposed to make me feel better? Nope. But it's the truth. He pointed at me with his chopsticks. You know what I think? You're going to destroy her case tomorrow, and then you're going to feel bad about it. But you shouldn't. She did this to herself. Mediation was at 10 the next morning. A conference room downtown. Gray walls. Bad coffee. Camille showed up looking like she'd prepared for war. New professional outfit. Full makeup. Her attorney was a big guy with an expensive watch who clearly thought this was easy money. My team was smaller. Just Weston and Kendall. We didn't need anyone else. Camille's attorney went first. Same talking points from the demand letter, delivered with practiced outrage. He painted Camille as a helpless victim who'd sacrificed her career for marriage and was now being punished for seeking emotional connection. Weston let him finish. Then he opened his folder. Bank records first. 12 years of statements showing me covering every expense. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, her mother's care, groceries, everything. All from my accounts. Then, employment records. Camille had worked the first 3 years of our marriage at a real estate office before quitting because it drained her creative spirit. 12 years without a single paycheck since. Then the secret credit card. Weston laid it all out. The 18 months of hidden charges. Camille's face went white. Her attorney's confident look crumbled. My client was unaware of this account, her attorney said, grasping. Really? Weston pushed a stack of statements across the table. Because these are all signed by her. 17 months of minimum payments. Lots of activity for an account she supposedly didn't know about. Camille grabbed her attorney's arm, whispered something urgent. He looked like a man watching his payday evaporate. Kendall spoke for the first time. If you look at the location data from the charges, there's a clear pattern. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, same areas of Charlotte, cross-referenced with calendar entries from Mrs. Beckett's devices. Those times match up with yoga classes that, according to studio records, she never attended. Camille's composure broke. This is ridiculous. You can't just invade my privacy like this. This is illegal. It's not invasion of privacy during discovery, Weston said, calm as ever. It's evidence of financial misconduct during marriage, which affects how equitable distribution gets calculated. The room went quiet. Her attorney asked for a recess. Needed to talk to his client in private. They stepped out into the hallway. I could hear raised voices through the door the whole time, Camille's mostly, getting higher and more panicked by the minute. When they came back 15 minutes later, the attorney looked like a completely different person. Defeat written all over his face. My client is willing to negotiate a reasonable settlement. I'm sure she is, Weston said. The final settlement took 2 hours. Camille got her personal stuff and $3,000. I kept everything else. No spousal support, no claim on the house, no claim on retirement. A clean break. She signed without looking at me once. Her hand was visibly shaking as she put pen to paper. Outside afterward, Camille stopped me on the steps. Her attorney had already bailed, probably couldn't wait to put this whole disaster behind him. You ruined me, she said quietly. You've completely ruined my entire life. No. You ruined you. I walked to my truck and drove home without looking back. The house was quiet. 2 months after the divorce was final, life had settled into something good. Work stayed steady. Summer storm season kept my crew busy, which meant solid overtime and the kind of tired bones at the end of each day that come from actual productive work, not the exhaustion from managing someone else's constant chaos. I started running again every morning. Nothing crazy, just a few miles before dawn when the Charlotte humidity wasn't brutal yet. Lost 15 pounds without even trying. Reese came over most weekends. We'd grill something, watch whatever game was on, talk about nothing important. Normal guy stuff that I'd missed without realizing I was missing it. You dating anyone yet? He asked one Saturday, flipping burgers. Not yet. Haven't tried. Good. Let the crazy drain out of your system first. Give it at least 6 months. Speaking from personal experience, my first marriage taught me everything I needed to know about spotting red flags early. Everything. Second one's way better because I actually paid attention to all those hard lessons instead of pretending they didn't happen. What's the biggest red flag you learned? Reese thought about it. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't make excuses for them. Camille told you for years she was bored, unfulfilled, needed more than you could give. You just didn't want to hear what she was actually saying. That's real. Yep. But hey, you're out now. That's what matters. Kendall stopped by one evening with some final paperwork. Accounting cleanup stuff. She'd become something like a friend during everything. Heard Camille's mother got transferred to a different facility, Kendall mentioned while I signed forms. Yeah. Where? County Place. State run. Camille couldn't keep up the payments at Pinehurst after everything fell apart. They gave her 60 days, and she couldn't come up with the money. I felt something at that. Not quite guilt, but close. Her mother had always been kind to me. Birthday cards every year, Christmas presents, warm hugs. She'd never asked for any of the help I provided. Didn't even know I was paying, probably. That's rough for her mom. Kendall shrugged. Consequences. Camille made choices. Now her mother's paying for them. It's not fair to the mom, but it's how it goes. I thought about sending money to the new facility anonymously, helping her mother without Camille knowing. Decided against it. That chapter was closed. I couldn't keep being the invisible safety net for people who'd used me. But I still felt it. Some things you can't logic your way out of. Life moved forward anyway, one day at a time. I saw Camille once during those 2 months. Gas station off Providence Road. She was pumping gas into an old Honda Civic I'd never seen before. Looked up, saw me at the next pump, looked away fast. We went about our separate lives. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. It was a Tuesday evening in late August when she showed up out of nowhere. I'd just gotten home from a brutal shift, 14 hours restoring power after a transformer blew and took half a neighborhood down. I was exhausted, drenched in sweat, and thinking about nothing except a cold shower and whatever leftovers were in the fridge. There was a car in my driveway. That same old Honda Civic from the gas station. And leaning against it, arms crossed, looking like she'd been waiting a while, was Camille. I parked my truck behind her, blocking her in. Nolan. She pushed off from the car as I got out. We need to talk. We really don't. 5 minutes, please. That's all I'm asking. I drove 2 hours from Raleigh. I should have walked inside. Should have closed the door and called it a night. But something about how she looked stopped me. I gestured toward the porch. 5 minutes. Starting now. We sat on the steps, a careful distance apart. The evening was warm and humid. I screwed up, she started. Huge. Life-destroying. And I know you don't owe me anything, but I need you to hear me out. Clock's ticking. She took a shaky breath. Thatcher's gone completely. He was never real. Not the way I told myself he was. He moved on to someone else about a week after mediation. Another married woman. He's got a pattern, apparently. Wow. Shocking. I deserve that. She looked down at her hands, which were shaking. Mom's in the county facility now. It's awful, Nolan. The smell when you walk in. The staff is overwhelmed. She doesn't recognize me half the time anymore. And I can't do anything because I have nothing. I'm at my sister's, sleeping on her couch, working a register at Target for $14 an hour. And I was wrong about everything. About what I thought I wanted out of life. About who I thought you were as a person and as a husband. I waited. Let her keep talking. Let her think she was building towards something that might actually work on me. You were good to me, better than I deserved. I didn't see it because I was bored and stupid and convinced myself I deserved some fantasy that doesn't exist. She turned to face me, tears forming now. I want to come home, Nolan. I want to try again. Start over. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. Please. Give me one more chance. I let the silence stretch out. Let her sit in the awkwardness. Camille, I said finally, my voice calm but firm. You know what I've been doing for the last 2 months while you were figuring out your life fell apart? What? Sleeping 8 hours every single night. Eating meals I actually enjoy making. Running every morning before work. Seeing my friends without checking my phone every 5 minutes to make sure I hadn't missed some crisis you'd created. For the first time in 15 years, I wake up in the morning and I'm not already exhausted before my day even starts. I can change, Nolan. I have changed. No, you haven't. And here's how I know. I turned to look at her, making sure she understood every word. You showed up here tonight with a whole rehearsed speech about how you made a mistake and want to try again. But notice what's missing. She waited, confused. Any real accountability for your choices? Any actual understanding of what you did and why it was so messed up? I said I was wrong. You said you were wrong because the other thing didn't work out. If Thatcher had swept you off to some amazing fantasy life, you wouldn't be on my porch right now. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it blew up in your face. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Caught. And the tears thing? I gestured at her face. Don't. It used to work. It doesn't anymore. Her expression flickered. Caught. You know what's wild about all this? I leaned back on the steps, relaxed. I'm not even mad anymore. I was for a while. Furious, actually. But now? I mostly just feel relieved. So that's it? 15 years and you just feel relieved. 15 years where I did all the actual work. You took care of yourself while I took care of literally everything else in our lives. Then when someone offered you a shiny fantasy, you grabbed it with both hands and expected me to wait patiently in the wings as your backup plan in case things didn't work out. I didn't think of you as a backup. Yeah, you did. You figured no matter what happened with Thatcher or anyone else, I'd still be here when you needed me. She didn't deny it. Couldn't. But here's what nobody ever told you. I stood up, brushing off my work pants. I don't wait around hoping things will change. I don't hold things together for people who don't appreciate the effort. You taught me that lesson, actually, so I guess in some weird, backwards way, I should thank you for it. She stood up. You think you're so above it all now, Mr. I've got it all figured out? You're going to die alone, Nolan. No one's going to put up with your cold approach to everything. Maybe. Could happen. I shrugged. But I'll die alone in my paid-off house. There are a whole lot worse things that could happen to a person. You're pathetic. And you're still blocked in. I pointed at her car. Move it back about 10 feet. I'll pull my truck forward and you can leave. We're done here. Finally, she let out a long breath. Something in her deflating. I really thought this would work, she muttered, more to herself than to me. I practiced the whole thing on the drive here. Had it all figured out. I know you did. That's probably the saddest part of all this. She walked to her car, got in, started the engine. I pulled my truck forward to give her room. As she backed up, she rolled down her window. One last shot. You're making a mistake, Nolan. You'll regret this. I smiled. She peeled out without another word, tires squealing. I went inside my quiet house. Camille found her soulmate and lost everything chasing him. I lost a wife and found myself. Looking back on all of it, I got the better deal, and I know it. So, tell me, if you were in my shoes, how would you have handled that final confrontation? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with someone who just wouldn't get it? I really want to hear your thoughts.